is Cheryl Burnett, and I am a State Farm agency owner. So we offer many products: auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance. We offer business insurance. I can insure your small businesses. We also offer health products. So we have a wide array of products that we offer. And I do have a wonderful staff. Actually, I have one of my team members here with me today. And we are also big on being a beacon of hope in the community. So as much as we, sell insurance products, my heart is my business, is my ministry. So we're always in the community doing back to school giveaways, doing events, Toys for Tots, hurricane relief. We do a lot of things to help and bless our community.
My business is I love it. And that's what you have to understand, whether you have a business or it's you, right? It is still your purpose, and it is something that it speaks to you in the audience around you, right? So everyone is still about who you are. All right, Tisha, unlimited credentialing. What do you have to say about your sales and marketing strategies?
Hi everybody, I'm Tisha Belton, the owner of Unlimited Credentialing. Okay. And how I do our sales and marketing is providers always contact us with a need. And how I developed Unlimited Credentialing was providers would come to us with uncertainties of how they were doing their business. And I deep dive into making sure that I can provide clarity for everything that they need in the medical sector, whether it's enrolling in Medicaid and Medicare as a provider or doing an ancillary enrollment with independent insurance companies. I make sure that they get that clarity that they need.
I love it. And one of the things about sales and marketing, y'all, is about positioning, of course, product placement, pricing. All right, so Octavia, Dr. Octavia, how would you say your number one lesson when it comes to pricing? I always get that question about how do you price your product or your service?
So that's a really great question. So you want to price for profit. What tends to happen for a lot of businesses is that they will look at their neighbor, which is their competitor, and they price their services based on what they see. However, you have to factor in your business. And so when you're pricing, there's a simple formula. I actually talked about this on my podcast. But the formula, you want to take your cost of goods and services sold, so your direct costs, right, your labor, your supplies, your materials. You want to factor in a profit margin on top of that, and then you make sure that all of your cost is covered, add in the profit margin, and that'll give you your pricing for profits formula.
I love that. And think about that even in your personal budgets, right? Because again, some of you own businesses, some of you don't. But you can start that same process that Dr. Octavia just explained, even in your own personal budgets, right? So whether you have a business or not, it's still about you, the same thing, right? What is it that you want, whether it's your income, your paycheck, whatever it is, and still factor in what it is that you want to have left over, right? So that you can still further the business that you want to grow or whatever it is that you're doing. I love that. Okay, so Cheryl, I want to ask you, because State Farm, there are many agencies and they all appear to be same. So when you're doing something where it's a franchise, right, how do you make yourself stand out beyond the franchise?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to answer that and the first question. I think I missed the first one.
Yeah.
So how I stand out? Yes, there's a State Farm agent. As a matter of fact, there are more State Farm agencies than there are McDonald's. So we have a State Farm agent on every corner, right? So how do I stand out? So first and foremost, it kind of ties back to my marketing. So I tend to create a marketing budget every month, and I ensure that I'm using as many marketing tactics as I can, and I spread my marketing. So I have a radius that I reach, and I ensure that I'm constantly doing whatever tactics I need to get to the consumer. And that could be SEO optimization. We do direct mail still. We also do digital marketing. So I'm on social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it's going to take to get my brand out there. Because if I'm not marketing, then people are not going to know about me. Like I said, there's a State Farm agent on every corner. So that's first and foremost. I have to make sure that I'm doing marketing. It's important to have a marketing budget, know what you can afford, right? And then whatever that budget is, seeing what tactics will work for your business. You have to do some research, some consumer research about your market, so you'll know exactly what type of consumers you're going to be marketing to, and then then you tailor your marketing plan to that. And so those are my goals. So that's what I was saying. And of course, I told you my vision, right?
Yeah.
To be a beacon of hope in the community. So I do events. So my face is out there. We're doing back to school giveaways. We're doing fall festivals. So we're doing Grace Day that's coming up. We do lots of events in the community to kind of put ourselves and our names out there so people know that we exist.
Community, that's what it is, right? Community support. And your community is the one that you form, right? So doing the community events, outreach, SEO, optimization, you build your supporters, right? So whether you're an individual, you still, I call it your soul tribe, right? So you find your soul tribe and what it is that you do and how you do it. People will always be attracted to you because of, if you live in authenticity about what you're doing, it can be like Cheryl said, a State Farm on every corner, but no one can bring what Cheryl brings, right, to it. So even if you're investing in a franchise, right, it's still what you bring to the table that makes that McDonald's stand out, right, that makes that State Farm stand out. So I will tell people all the time, you don't have to invest or start from scratch. You can have a franchise. You can take the model that someone else has built because you are still behind that. I love that. All right, Coach. So when you are talking and you're coaching, what is it that you explain to people about how to even market themselves as a brand or anything that they could bring to them to their life to make them stand out?
Of course. So for me, it's all about relationships. It's all about relationship based. That's the relationship that you have with yourself. That's how you know how to create yourself and how you appeal to everyone. And again, everyone is not going to be attracted to you, so it's good to just know who your niche is. But again, those who aren't able to find you through marketing, they will be attracted to you because word of mouth is still the biggest marketing piece that you can ever utilize. So it's important to build relationships with your clients, with your vendors. And another thing that, for me, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, a lot of entities out here, what's not working for them is they're overselling, right? They're very pushy. There's a sense of urgency. People can detect misalignment very quickly and they will not connect to that. But what people relate to is lived experiences. When you know your product and services, when you have a story behind it that's successful, and they're able to gravitate to that and do business with you.
I love that. Alignment, ladies, it's alignment. So whatever it is that you want to do, you have to align with you on the inside. Anything that's unnatural is going to be forced, right? So you don't want to have to force it. So it's really about aligning your business, your brand, whatever it is with you, so that makes it simple, right? You don't want to have 7 different brand colors in every different, right? So whatever your brand is, you appear that way all the time, right? And that is what makes you consistent in who you are as a brand. Now, for Tisha, I want to talk to B2B because she deals with a lot of business-to-business relationships. So when you deal with business-to-business sales and marketing, what does that look like?
A lot of the businesses that I deal with, the number one providers that typically come through our company are non-emergency transportation companies. We're in 21 different states with unlimited credentialing, 21 different states. And a lot of the brokers, I build relationships with the brokers, I build relationships with the insurance entities because a lot of providers reach out to them wanting information on how to get their business started. The providers don't have that time and or the resources to do that part, so they refer the individuals to me. So like all of you ladies have said, you like how you do your market range to see how you put the profit and losses together, and how all of you have said you have a special niche. My special niche is connecting with the providers, making sure that they know that we actually exist and can help individuals get their business started. So I do a lot of business-to-business events, as well as I do more TikTok, social media, because people want to see what I'm doing. So like I'm a certified CTAA trainer, meaning individuals that ambulate with an impairment. I teach the securement certification, and so I do that on TikTok. A lot of individuals see that and they call us just to do CTAA training. They'll pay for us to come to their state to do the training.
Social media is important, ladies. Now I know, I don't look as old as I am, but I'm 50, all right? So social media isn't my forte, so I would say hire a social media manager, right? Because a lot of times we get so busy and you're trying to burn the candle at every end. You need to have a social media manager and an administrator, at least those two. Everything else you may be able to do yourself, right? But there are things that you have to have in place if you want to advance your business. So I love that. So everybody in here, get on TikTok. When she says that, it's TikTok, y'all. Like, you would think Instagram because people want to see you do what you do. I don't care if you're reading a book, right? You can be a book author and you're on TikTok reading your book, right? Whatever it is, people are in the day of social action, right? Being able to interact. So you have to understand the climate of where you are. So do that. Now, I want to see what was the biggest mistake, right? Each one of us have made when it comes to sales and marketing. Because let me tell you, if you go down the wrong rabbit hole, you will spend thousands and get no return on your marketing investment. So I want Dr. Octavia to speak about that. One of the biggest either pitfalls or mistakes that you could have made starting off when it concerns sales and marketing.
Well, one of the biggest mistakes I made is wanting to help everyone and not realizing that initially everyone was not my ideal client. And so I had to step back and really analyze who I want to work with, how do I want to transform their finances and really help them say yes to profits and identify that right person. And so this is why I know that priority one focus works, because I worked it on myself first. And so that was one of my biggest mistakes, wanting to work with everyone. I just want to help people. But there is a profit side of the business, and then there's a passionate side of the business for the nonprofit, where I'm able to help those that may not be able to afford to work with a CFO.
Yeah. I love that you said you initially did it for yourself, because I was picturing, see, a lot of times we have products, we have offerings, but we haven't initiated on ourselves, right, to make sure it works. I mean, even like products, right? You can't sell a product that you haven't used, right? You can't sell food that you haven't tasted, right? So it's really about you understanding what it is that you want, proven on yourself, families, friends, whatever it is, so that now you understand that it works. I love that. All right, Cheryl, what was one of the things that you learned at first?
It was a tough one too. So my biggest mistake in the beginning was throwing everything at the wall to see what was going to stick. Basically, when it comes to marketing, I would see all these different businesses doing different things. I was spending all this money on all these leads and wondering why I wasn't seeing the growth. And so I had to tailor back and say, okay, Cheryl, this isn't working. You're wasting thousands of dollars. And what I found out after, looking back at my business and my systems is that I didn't have well-defined processes. Right? Anything that you're going to invest in, anything that you're going to try to bring to your business has to have a process. You need a process for the process, okay? And so I had to start defining my processes. So when we do purchase these leads, what are we doing? Are we calling on day one? Are we texting? Are we emailing the client? When are we following up? And doesn't my team know this process to the T? Is everybody doing it on the same level? So once I defined my process, I took my money back. There were no leads coming into the office. I made sure everybody was on board with the process. So you must have a process, right? Once I did that, then I also had to look at, I had to start looking deeper into my business to see what is actually working. Is this lead better than this lead? Is SEO optimization where I need to put my money? Where am I getting my clicks? Like, where am I getting my clients? So once I looked at my sales platform and saw what was working, that is where I decided to start investing in what was already working, and then make sure we had well-defined processes for wherever I was spending my money. Once I did that, I was able to see the growth, because everything has to work together.
Work what works. That's literally it. Like, don't try to do too many things at once. Start with one. If that works, continue to work that, and then maybe add on a second. Depending on the niche or the business you're in, referrals are usually your best, right? Especially if you're in, coaching and different, depending on what your niche is referrals. So how you take care of those clients really is your biggest lead. My firm, has been in business now 19 years. I've never marketed or advertised, never. Like, it's just social media, my presence, of course, and then referrals, right? When you do one great thing for a client, they send others in, and then you just build it off of who you are. So I love that. All right, what did you learn, Coach?
There we go. The first thing that I learned was know thyself, right? And the mistake was not showing up for my business, not showing up, not doing sales, not doing the marketing, just not putting myself out there. I would come to events like these and I would shun myself for intimidation purposes, maybe. That comparison game really took root, and no one even knew I had a business for years. And so making the decision to show up for myself was the first thing, but then after that, I was throwing everything at the wall as well, because I was just so excited about, oh, I'm here, and I'm just throwing everything, trying to see what works. So pulling that back, again, that alignment with knowing my brand and knowing who I am and who I'm called to serve, that made me more intentional with marketing, that made me more intentional with showing up in places and spaces that's going to further my business growth. Because every event is not for you. Every collaboration is not for you. And again, when we're chasing trends, when we do not know who we are and who we are called to serve and our foundational message, we're just spinning the wheels. So again, being focused, being aligned with who you are, and again, yes, having those systems in place, that is what helped me to pivot.
Know thyself, right? If you don't know yourself, how can you market what it is that you're marketing, right? So it still starts with you within, knowing what it is that you want, knowing your ideal client, but more so aligning yourself with what it is that you desire. All right? You ready, Tisha?
So I would say some of my struggles were like processes, having processes in place. I have so many services that I can offer with unlimited credentialing. I felt like at first I could just throw everything out here and everybody will be ready. But then when I was getting feedback, it was like they weren't clear. And one thing that I pride myself on is providing clarity. And I was like, okay, let me narrow it down. So I had to restructure, like when I'm onboarding a new client, how do I do that? Then from the follow-up of onboarding the client, what is the next step? I had to change internal processes from paper to electronic. Like I had to change a lot of things. I had to take 2 weeks off the business to actually build a portal for my clients so that way they can navigate and follow us as we're credentialing their file. So there was a lot of restructuring internally that I had to do to make unlimited credentialing successful.
I'm hearing processes, right? Processes, making sure, and don't be afraid to change, right? What you were using may have worked at the time, but then when you develop, times develop, people change, tastes change, markets change, right? So you cannot be afraid to pivot. You cannot be afraid to change, even in your sales and marketing strategy. What worked last year may not work this year, right? So it's really about you understanding who you are and when it's time to change. So I want to talk briefly before we open up for questions. One question to the panel is this. At what point did you decide that, okay, maybe it's time to rebrand the sales and marketing? Or have you been the same?
Well, I have a story, a chapter of my life called Broke, Busted, and Disgusted. And then the next chapter is called Breakthrough. Hello. So what ended up happening going through the Broke, Busted, and Disgusted period, just to make a long story short, I went through this phase of going out into the world of entrepreneurship. I started just having an accounting firm doing bookkeeping and taxes. And then I went through that broken chapter where I realized that it took more than that, because I was doing that all my life. I came from corporate America, and to get to breakthrough, I had to create this system. I had to create this structure, this framework that now is called the Say Yes to Profits pillars, right? When I ended up going from a negative $152 in my bank account a custom-built home 1 month away from foreclosure to now a bank account that had 6 figures bottom line, okay? And multi-6 figures top line, I said, whatever I did to get from that broken place to this breakthrough place, I want to go back and I want to teach others. And so I rebranded my company from Smart Accounting Services to Say Yes to Profits to provide the financial strategy, the financial structure, and the systems that will allow someone to really build a profitable, successful business. And I can say today that the home never went in foreclosure. Everything is absolutely amazing, praise God. But it took a structure, it took a system, and I rebranded to now provide those same services to others.
I love it. Has anyone else rebranded?
Well, go ahead.
So I have rebranded. So initially, Unlimited Credentialing is the new rebrand name. So I opened originally in 2020. I was called Indiana NEMT. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. But I limited myself right off the bat when I opened the company because I named it Indiana NEMT. People thought that I only did services in Indiana, which is not true. So I did the company for 2 years. I didn't believe in myself. I closed the company, went and got a job, was unhappy with the job. I had a great position. I was a director. And it wasn't what I love to do. My company is what I love to do. So I came back, me and my spouse renamed the company, and he was like, babe, you're unlimited. Like, you can do everything. And I do credentialing, so we named it Unlimited Credentialing. And from that point on, I have not looked back, I have not regretted it. I really don't have to market because a lot of my clients are word of mouth. I do, like I said, post on TikTok, but literally I've structured the company to where my processes have helped me build my clientele even better and be able to serve more clients. I've allowed myself to be able to build a team in the office to where they're structured. My assistant in my office is way more structured than me. She puts me in check. She gets me together. But that's what I needed because at first I felt like I could do everything. I'm unlimited, but I can't do everything. I needed that team. Once I realized I got that team, I restructured, I rebranded. I am here today, successful.
I want to add to this awesome story. So, you might be saying, how did she rebrand? She's a State Farm agent, so I may not have rebranded the name of my agency because I'm not able to, but I had to rebrand myself. And the way that I did that is, I'm going to say this, so for all of you here today, just always remember that comparison is the stealer of joy, okay? And when you have a company that is so many of us, so many people that are doing what you do, you can get to a point where you're trying to chase, like, okay, I want to be better, I want to be my agency to be on top. And so I did get into that rat race for a while. The company doesn't help because I'm a franchise, so they do show you everybody's numbers and ask you, what can you do better? So there was a time where I was just chasing numbers. So what I would suggest to everyone, when you start a business, right? First of all, the Bible tells you to make the vision and write it plain, okay? Write down your vision first and foremost, and always remember your why, right? I had to remind myself of my why. My why is not their why. Okay, Cheryl, why did you come into this agency? It actually brought me to tears when I got to that point. I had to get broken. I had to remember why I started this to begin with. I didn't start this to be